Hunsworm Hat. Really quick video on natural sciences.
Natural sciences? My goodness, could it be that we're not going to be in the world of completely baffling nonsensical gibberish and instead cover a far more down-to-earth nonsensical gibberish? I don't believe it. I am excited.
On spellcraft.
Oh god, you know what, I'm not even going to pretend. You knew this was coming. It always does.
Words. Words having meanings.
Do they? Do they really? Because I have watched enough of your content to know that regardless of a word's meaning, you are more than likely just going to add piles and piles of your own BS on top of it until you have a nice BS platter and the word has lost all meaning.
That are more than just, language isn't just randomness.
It kind of is, at least to begin with. Words have to come from somewhere. They have to be made up, etc. But some words, sure, come from noises that we make. Mother and father are derived from the sounds that babies make, and the like. Also, many words are derived from others, or the rules of that language as that language becomes more complex. But there's a reason why most words in languages from different origins are completely different. And while random isn't the right word for it, no word is a fact unto itself. Nothing is called whatever we decide to call it because that's what it has to be called. I'm sorry, I probably went way further into this than he meant. Unsurprisingly, he does have the depth of a puddle of sheep urine.
Fountain, mountain. They're literally the same word, except for the first letter.
Making them? Not the same word at all. I can guess where you're going with this. Something along the lines of, these words sound the same. Well, they rhyme. Therefore, they must have the same properties. Gun rhymes with bun, and I don't think you're going to be making a particularly tasty snack out of a firearm, or have much luck defending yourself with a bread roll. And Sir Sick rhymes with handsome, famous, and good at the sex, but those don't mean the same thing either. Wait, no, you're right. Never mind.
Fountain, mountain. Fountains, what they used to be for. People would drink out of the fountain.
Fountains are still for that? You know there are different types, right? I could have guessed you don't spend an awful lot of time outside your subterranean dwelling, but I just can't imagine you've never seen a drinking fountain. Although to be fair, considering certain events, I wouldn't be surprised to see them going the way of the dodo, but that hasn't happened quite yet, and you are likely to be at least old enough to operate a computer, so like 5 or 6 years old, yeah? Probably sounds about right considering your ideas. You must have seen a drinking fountain IRL, or in a piece of media. You just have no excuse to be that ignorant.
In the middle of the town. You'd have your town, and you'd have a fountain in the middle of the town, and that's where people would go to collect their water.
I mean, kinda. Depends where and when you're talking about. I don't know if you mean, like, everywhere, because no, of course not. They would collect water from rivers or dig wells to access groundwater. But sure, the function of very early fountains was as a distribution point for water within the towns that had them. If that's what you meant to say, then gold star, pat on the head, well done for getting one of your stopped clock being right twice a day stickers. You earned it, buddy.
And look at the shape, looks like a mountain, and they have the different springs coming out of it. It's because mountains are fountains.
Okay, this is kind of off topic, but not. Mrs. Sick just entered the room while I'm working my way through this video and heard that, turned to me and made this face. Irrelevant, I know, but I just thought it was hilarious. Anyway, say that again.
Mountains are fountains.
No, they aren't. Even if you're going to go with the lots of mountains have springs route, it's just not the same thing. Especially if you want to talk about the original use, because those things had to be fed from sources like aqueducts and such. They are just not even remotely mechanically similar. And again, if you're talking about the original fountains, they weren't even called fountains. I mean, English is derived from Latin, and Latin is derived from ancient Greek, and at that point, fountains were referred to as, and forgive my likely failed pronunciation, krini. And their word for mountain wasn't even close to that. It was oros. Now, if they are the same thing, why wouldn't they have those similar words that always mean the same things, because that's how rhymes work? Could it be that just maybe this is the stupidest argument you've ever made? No, probably not. I'm sure you've made much, much more idiotic arguments, and will do so in the future too.
And that's like what having that fountain in the middle of the town square. It's like having a smaller representation of the bigger thing.
Fountains are mini mountains. Okay, why don't we just go with that? I mean, they aren't, but just... So what? If that were the case, why would it matter? What difference would it make? And why does it need a video? I know, but Sir Sick, you're making a video addressing it. Yes, I completely agree. I make stupid, pointless videos. But I like making stupid, pointless videos. And I'm sure at least some of you enjoy watching them. But I doubt Hans thinks that he's making stupid, pointless videos. I think he believes he's making a good point. But even if it were right, it's so irrelevant, it actually causes me physical discomfort.
It's like here's our mountain that's bringing us our water, which is what mountains do. That's why rivers come from the mountains.
Well, that's what water does. If you have some water at a high place, it just wants to go to the nearest point to the centre of gravity. You'll notice I didn't say lowest point because I didn't want the flirts to all jump out at once from behind a bush going, "Aha! But then it would roll down the ball!" See, I'm clever like that. Just unfortunately not in any other way. But yeah, the water doesn't want to be up there, and so it's going to roll down the mountain as efficiently as possible in rivers and gullies, etc. Anyway, what's your stupid point? I'm sorry, I meant to say what's your point? I'm sure it's not going to be stupid at all.
And it never made sense to me. That's one of the lies that never ever made any sense.
Okay, here we go. What are they lying about this time, Hans? I mean, they always have to be lying. Couldn't possibly be that you just don't know something or understand how the things work. Last time it was toucans. I wish I was making that up, but that's Hans for you. So go on, blow my mind.
Oh, all the water that's coming down from these mountains, these rivers, they're getting their water from the mountains from snow deposits.
There you go. So, Hans, baby, who says that? Is it literally no one? I think what we have here is Hans not understanding that multiple things can be true at the same time. See, many mountains do in fact have snow on top, and that snow does melt, and it's got to go somewhere. So it does what I described before. But mountains also can have springs on them, or is it in them? Whatever. Water comes out of a hole in the mountain, and that again does the thing I said it do. But Hans, everyone knows about this. You can buy mountain spring water. There's a literal company with that name. Nobody is hiding this. Nobody is lying. You're just too dumb to understand. More than one fact about a thing can be true, and the basic explanation for something isn't the only explanation for something.
And, I don't know, glaciers melting. That's not how it works. That's just clearly not how it works. There's way too much water involved.
Again, it's not just that. It's rain and groundwater also, but even if it were just that, the snow and ice up top mountains is countless metric tons of frozen water. And big rivers don't just come from one mountain's trickle down of water. The trickles make a stream. A bunch of them join to form a small river, perhaps streams from a few mountains. And those rivers, formed from multiple mountains, make big rivers. All of these starting from metric shit tons of ice when all accounted for. You simply don't understand the kinds of quantities we are talking about here, because your mum told you that a 17 on an IQ test was a big score.
Look at the Amazon. All that water in the Amazon. Do you really think that all that water in the Amazon started as rain?
It certainly would have been rain at some point. That's what water does. It circulates. Just because you think something seems huge and incomprehensible doesn't mean it is. I mean, do you really think all those buildings could really come from these measly bricks? Bricks are so small and buildings are so big. That's what you sound like when you say crap like that. Look how many rivers feed into the Amazon. It's not just a couple, you absolute spoon. Small things and small amounts of stuff combine together to make far bigger things or versions of the stuff. It's not complicated. It's not hard to understand at a basic level. But here you are, showing that even the simplest of ideas is completely beyond your grasp.
That's just not how it works. Rain is a secondary thing to the water cycle.
I think you'll find it's very important to the water cycle. Are you seriously suggesting that your typical cumulus cloud of approximately 1 cubic kilometre in volume that contains no less than 500 tons of water is a completely insignificant part of the water cycle? And that's one cloud out of dozens kicking about on an even moderately cloudy day, let alone the kind of capacity you would expect from a single large storm cloud that could easily be over 1 million tons of water. But no, that amount of water could never contribute in any significant way to the tiny river that flows out back your grandpappy's farm. No, I'm sure it comes out of wormholes or something.
And it's something that they tell you upside down.
I never told you anything upside down. Wait a tick.
When they teach you in school the water cycle, they tell you it's all above ground. Oh, the oceans evaporate and make clouds, and then the clouds rain down. But
right, so you're talking about the water cycle that you would learn in school. The basic version that does cover the broad strokes, sure, but it is more complicated than that. And if you had, say, one of them there higher educations, you might understand that there's more to learn about it. But that would require you to have one of them there lower educations too, and, well, I doubt that you were paying a whole heap of attention, if you were even there at all. Makes me wonder how you know this much, to be honest. Probably found some mouldy science textbook with half the pages missing and built your entire scientific understanding around that and filled in the blanks with the dumbest ideas you could find on the internet. Like any reasonable person would.
everybody who's ever lived, I believe, should just know there's not enough water coming down from the sky as rain.
Everybody who's ever lived should just know something that you can't know intuitively. So if you lived in, say, an arid region that also happened to have a river pass through it, that you should just know that that river starts in a mountain, even if you were too far away to see them. No, of course not. That would be absurd. You know things about the environment by the study of that environment. Not assume that you know everything because you take a guess based on limited information. That is what morons do. Ah, that explains a lot.
To account for all the water that we see in rivers. I think that's just something that we can tell, especially if we've seen a large river with our eyes. That's too much water. That's not coming from rain.
Raindrop, small. River, big. How small make big? Does not making sense. Only big make big. Small make small. I am very smart.
Now, if it's raining heavily for days and days and days, you can see flooding occur. But it's not like when it stops raining, the river dries up.
Oh, Hans, you dense father mucker. You just debunked yourself and you don't even know it. If a few days of rain can make literally everywhere for miles deep with water, why oh why do you think that it takes that much rain at all to keep a skinny bit of water, comparatively speaking, well supplied? And actually, yes, rivers do dry up when it stops raining for long enough. That's literally a thing that happens. Frequently, it's called a drought. Tell me, Hans, who's dressing you each day? Because I think they really need to start monitoring your computer time as well. Not to stop you making YouTube videos, God forbid, I wouldn't want to take away one of the internet's greatest resources for silly, but maybe to actually guide you to a few elementary level science websites and actually make you sit down and read them. Then you might not come off quite so ridiculous. They are really doing you a disservice by not forcing you to do an actual learning, mate.
The river will keep flowing. Big, big rivers will keep flowing, even though it's not raining. It can stop raining for months.
Big rivers can keep flowing, yes, but just because it's not raining where you are right now, thousands of miles down the river, doesn't mean it isn't raining at its source. This is that not knowing everything from a limited piece of information we talked about earlier. And even if it does stop raining around some of its sources, the river will go down, but it can still be filled with less water, only because it's still being supplied by those same ice caps you dismissed earlier. Among other things, but the rain was important for its full capacity.
That doesn't mean that all the rivers dry up. And it's because it's capillary action. The mountains soak up water and it gets filtered as it gets soaked up through the ground. The mountains are like these. I mean, think of Earth is a medium that water can get pulled through. And just like it's getting pulled through this paper towel, it gets pulled up through the mountains.
Right, so no dumbass. Where do you think the water that is in those mountains can come from? Is it A, wormholes, B, magic, or C, rainfall? If you answered A or B, well done! You are probably a Hans Wormhat subscriber. Please feel free to sit in the corner and be quiet.
It probably has something to do with the pressure difference. Way up in the mountains, the air is thinner, so the water probably gets extra pulled up there. And I don't know exactly how it works, but it's just something that the water cycle they teach you in school is just flat out wrong.
So there you have it, folks. Hans doesn't know how it works, but has the full confidence to tell you how it doesn't. Oh, to be that arrogant and that ignorant at the same time. It must be nice. Oh, how cursed I am to know that I am in fact an absolute idiot. Feel sorry for me! Now! Guys, don't forget to panic buy sick brand merch. What if you need to let people know that you are handsome, famous and good at the sex in a variety of tasteful colours? Buy as many as you can afford now before this thing that's printed to order runs out. Also, you can use it as toilet paper if needs be. You never know when you're going to need to wipe your arse.